ESAFF is the network of smallholder farmers in Eastern and Southern Africa. We are working in 15 countries now. This includes all countries in East Africa, the 5 countries, but also 10 countries in Southern Africa. This includes Congo DRC up to South Africa, but also Seychelles and Kenya and some countries like Zimbabwe, Zambia, Lesotho and Swaziland. Why I'm here today is because we convened East Africa Budget Summit to bring together for the first time ever members of parliament from member states, and these were chairpersons of the Agricultural Committee, but also we invited the cadre focal persons. These are the people that are working on the Comprehensive African Development Program from the 5 member states, but also we invited the ALR, and in particular the members of the Agriculture, Tourism and Natural Resources Committee.
Honorable guest of honor, Honorable Chris Okoka-Okum. This is our second meeting in terms of the series focusing on CSOs and farmers, our organization to bring together stakeholders within the region. Agriculture accounts for 30% of the gross domestic product in our member states, countries, and employ more than 60% of the population, and more so in rural areas. We target 4 key objectives in this particular gathering. The first objective is to facilitate a platform and enhance the civil society organizations, the smallholder farmers. We want to enhance their involvement in agricultural financing policy processes, because we understand the people who are affected by lower budget to agriculture are smallholder farmers. So we want to bring them into the policy making processes, in particular focusing on agricultural financing within the region. And definitely there are some countries who have made some progress. In Tanzania, we understand they have what we call Tanzania Agricultural Development Bank. However, this is one of the initiatives that could also be emulated in other countries. The second objective is creating opportunity for smallholder farmers to raise their voices. These are some of the rare opportunities where the smallholder farmers critically engage with policymakers within the region. We want to use researches, we want to use the experiences gathered by a number of years through implementing agriculture-related projects. It could be on a small scale level, but still there's a lot of experiences that has been gathered by the smallholder farmers. So this is one of the opportunities that we can also assess the CADEF result framework. Third objective of this particular gathering, we want to identify the challenges and opportunities in terms of realizing the Malabo Declaration, and particularly the role of the East Africa Legislative Assembly, the national parliamentarians, as key players in facilitating the legislative process, but also exercising their oversight in terms of making sure that the approved budget is also delivered. It's not about delivering the budget, but it's also about when is the budget being delivered. You can deliver the budget, but probably it is the last month of the fiscal year, which also has a lot of negative effect, because considering that agricultural sector is a seasonal sensitive sector, if you miss a rainy season, you have missed it completely. So we want to look on that as well. And the last but not the least objective is also developing a set of recommendations. We understand by November this year, there will be a Heads of State Summit, and we want to develop a set of recommendations that could be put forward through the Agricultural, Tourism and Natural Resource Committee that could also be an input to that particular assembly. Honorable guests of honor, honorable members of ELA, these are the 4 objectives for this particular meeting, and we hope by the end of the gathering today we'll have achieved everything that we have already stated in here.
Our main focus is to ensure that farmers have a voice in policy processes, especially agricultural policies, starting from the grassroots at the village level, going to the districts, to the national, and to the regional.
I congratulate ESAFF for organizing this workshop themed Investment in Agriculture Towards Ending Hunger and Poverty by 2025 in the EAC, which brings us together to discuss and deliberate on important issues for the betterment of our community. Agriculture is a key component in our daily lives and enabling us to feed our people, create jobs for our youth, and pay for education. Agriculture is one of the East African region's most important sectors, with about 80% of the population of the EAC partners living in rural areas and depending on agriculture for their livelihood. I am a firm believer that political will is key to hold one another accountable in order to make hunger, malnutrition, poverty a thing of the past in our region. The EAC is keen to implement the policies, strategies, and instruments at global level through the MDG Goal 2 and through the Malabo Declaration and CADAP at the continental level. I commend ESAFF for the good job in empowering small-scale farmers. I acknowledge that this is not the first time that ESAFF had engaged with EALA. Let me at this juncture plead with the partner states to rise up to the CADAP requirements for the region to become more competitive in global trading markets.
Our motive is to see that the Malabo Declaration that was agreed by the African head of states in Malabo in 2014, June, they are realized. There are 8 goals, in particular 7 goals, that we want to see them implemented. The first one are the values of and the principles of CADAP to ensure that the process is participatory. And goal number 2 is on financing, to ensure that countries at least recommitted in terms of investing into the agriculture sector to the level of 10% of the budget allocated each year from the member states, but also to ensure that there are agricultural bank for smallholder farmers and other farmers in general so that they can access funding and make sure that agriculture moves to the second level. The third goal of the Malabo is to make sure that we have poverty. And having poverty, this is through increasing productivity. And also eliminating hunger by 2025, ensuring that there is resistance, increasing trade. Goal number 7, that is very, very important, is in terms of ensuring that there is mutual accountability on results.
Honorable Mayor Inabu, I would like maybe to tweak a little bit what you have to share with us.
I'm very happy to have this summit. Let me say that our countries yet we are faced by food crisis, and we are challenged by food and nutritional insecurities. Productivity is still very low in our farms. We have ailing infrastructure and institutional policy failures. We are all here to see to it that these challenges are tackled with the use of Malabo Declaration. As we are representatives, we have got to know the concerns, the interests and the needs of those people whom we are representing, and the majority of them will be in the farms. In Tanzania, for example, right now we are having a conflict between small-scale farmers and the big investors in the farms. And unfortunately, those who are holding the land, they are not using them for agriculture. So we have to see to it that the larger portion goes to the small-scale farmers. We facilitate them to raise the productivity in the farms so that at the end of the day, they gain from farming rather than becoming poorer and poorer. And why they become poorer? Because they are faced by the climatic change. This year there is rain, next year there is no rain. So we need budget to be 10%, so that part of it and the bulk of it goes to irrigation, because without irrigation we can never be sure of harvesting. When the money is allocated to irrigation, where does it fall to? It must reach the small-scale farmer, who is the bulk of the farmers in our countries. The other thing is, people harvest, and when they harvest, the prices go down below the cost of production even. Not only that, the farmers do farm, and the middleman comes and takes the produce and makes more money than the farmers who have bent their spinal cords. So we have to see to it, the farmer at the end of the day gets more benefit than anybody else, because he has used investment. Without investment, there will be no outcome. So the 10% has no argument at all. In actual fact, if you can get more than that, it will be much better to invest all that in agriculture. And within the agriculture, to whom should it go? To the small-scale farmers. We have to see to it that, where do the produce go? We have to have the markets. We have to have the value chain. Ruin the value chain of agricultural produce in our countries. We have got to see to it the value chain comes back. We don't need to sell the raw produce. We need the agricultural produce to be raw materials to our processing factories. And this is where our youth will go, the 60% will go. So this is the role of the parliamentarians, to look at the policies, to see the laws, and even how it reaches these people.
Honorable Godfrey Kiwanda, how long have you been in the August House?
For the last 15 years.
For the last 15 years you've been in the August House?
Yeah.
How have you been seeing to it that the investment is reaching the small-scale farmers?
It's very difficult to look at our culture in isolation, just the farm and the farmers. My experience in the House, I've seen that we can actually look at our culture in a holistic manner. When I look at the budgets that I've gone through as a member of parliament for the last almost 15 years, I've identified one very, very important factor. For the Ministry of Agriculture alone, in Uganda, it has about 3.6 sectors under it, agencies. It's also within these other ministries that we can also support agriculture. For example, look at the Ministry of Water and Environment in my country. Is under this ministry that will provide water for irrigation. The Ministry of Environment is where we have the pre-planting program, and is to maintain the environment and also to make sure that the farmer down there have the best environment for their crops. Through the Ministry of Trade, we've supported the exportation of agricultural products. In the Ministry of Lands, that's where we actually settle the farmers onto the land. I just want to say, in order as members of parliament, what can we do to achieve this? First of all, we must make the declaration popular to the population.
Civil society are good researchers, and our legislators have a shorter time in doing research, especially at the grassroots. So, if we are to have mutual accountability, members of parliament must be in touch with the civil society, farmers networks, and look at the research we do at the grassroots. Because we are always at the grassroots with the farmers, we ourselves are farmers. In that relationship, if the leaders, the legislators, capture and analyze and share the kind of research we do at the grassroots, especially in the budget implementation, budget tracking, it will help them also to share it at the ministry. I've been hearing a lot, and the current speaker, Honorable Kiwanda, they are talking a lot about the ministries of agriculture also having other ministries in support. I agree with them. But why are they shy always to speak about the actuals which goes to the ministry? And they are not shy in other ministries to speak about the actual budget. The Minister of Works will take this percentage, and they are proud of it. And it is gradual. It goes on increasing and increasing. But for the Minister of Agriculture, if this year it is up, the other it can go below even what we expected it. We have small-scale farmers, we have medium farmers, and large-scale farmers. So if we are allocating budget, make sure that the small-scale farmers at the grassroots, it is highlighted that this percentage, if it is trickling down at the district, will be accessed by the small-scale farmers. The issue of credit, we've been having credit, especially in our country. The agricultural credit fund, it is in the commercial banks, but the small-scale farmers will never access this credit because they say it is 30 million, whereby the farmer can access it. When we, the small-scale farmers, really get 30 million at that level there. So there's need of prioritizing who gets what and why should that person get it. There is a problem of collateral and security at the grassroots. The commercial banks need security. The small-scale farmers do not have security, but they have fed these countries for years. We are the people who are feeding everyone. Everything eats the small-scale farmers. Why don't you look at those critical people there?
One of the big challenges that I see in terms of market is the whole thing about farmers are being confined somewhere because of the frequent bans which are directed at different levels, let's say not giving the rights or the opportunity of farmers to sell outside of their produce. This is detrimental in terms of farming, because once the market is not there, what is the point of continuing production anyway? So we see frequent ban, especially when there is shortage of grains. District commissioner can just come out and say you are not allowed to sell outside the district any mahindi, maize. Forget about neighboring countries, but within even the country those are happening. And increasingly we see farmers always say that why are big commercial or big traders allowed to sell across the region regardless of what is happening?
Honorable Christopher, what, in your own opinion, how do you think we can work together with the national committees on agriculture to be able to achieve progression and realization of the 10%? As chairperson of the Agricultural, Tourism and Natural Resources Committee, what do you think you will do to work with the national committees to ensure that this is sustained, institutionalized, and then we achieve that target?
Thank you. Give me 1 minute, please. And I request Sebalu to tell this governing how actually farmers, small farmers, can increase their revenue by only adopting some approaches of work.
We need to have our mindset to a level that we are doing farming as a gainful activity. Farming as a business, farming as an enterprise, with a view of maximizing returns on the investment. Honorable Member of Parliament from Tanzania has rightly indicated the whole aspect of cross-border trade that is not guided is exploitative in nature. So we want our farmers at whatever level, although I indicated let that be hypothetical, but let all farmers adopt standards as a tool of entrenching them into the business. Someone just comes on your farmland, he picks your produce even before it is ready. So how are you negotiating on a banana fruit that is yet to be even put without standardization? So the whole aspect and concept of standardization is something that I want to encourage our partners, the farmers, at whatever level. With the standards, there is nothing like small or big farmer. You all need to have the right standards, apply them, and be able to get the best return on the investment.
This can be very helpful. If it comes to potatoes, or middleman come, take your potatoes, go clean only, put it in packet, and then on the shelves of a supermarket. For price,
is almost 10 times what you have received. This kind of handling your products can actually be very, very helpful. This has to be considered. So let me even come back on what you have asked at the beginning. First, we think and we actually recommend it. Chambers of Parliament or committee working rooms are open to people. It means if you have any request, you can also bring it actually during the activities of a committee, or even through petition, you can bring your concern, your request to the Parliament so that they are obliged to follow it up. Members of Parliament are not elected to go and sit and wait. In the normal activities, they reach out to population. They come to you. When they come, make sure you follow it up. I think it is possible, parliamentarians, to go to the grassroots level to discuss with farmers, to understand the concerns as I have highlighted it before, and then to come back when they are working on bills, considering the views of the population. When they come to stakeholders, when it is an issue related to agriculture, livestock, or anything else, stakeholders should put their point so that will be actually respond exactly to their needs. Moderator, it is possible what you are requesting.
Voice, creating spaces for them. One, I'll take the councillor there. Two of you agree and one person will speak.
Nimejifunza kidogo lakini nikatambua kwamba kilimo ndio uti wa mgongo wa mataifa yote ya Afrika. 30% ya pato la nchi kwa kila nchi linatoka kwa mkulima mdogo. Kwa nini tusikubaliane kuomba mihimili hii ikae na iwaze zaidi kwamba kitu cha kwanza ambacho kinatakiwa kupewa kipaumbele ni kilimo na wakulima hawa wadogo wadogo. Ukizingatia wakulima wadogo wanaishi vijijini walio wengi, hasa akina mama ambao wakilima hata mafanikio yao yanakuwa chini kwa sababu pia wao wanakuwa sio wasemaji kwa kile walichokifanya. Amelima, amevuna, atakayempangia bei ni mfanyabiashara. Wakubwa walazimishwe ili wafike mahali waamue kila nchi ifikie 10% kutenga budget kwa ajili ya wakulima, kwa vile ndio yenye ajira kubwa na yenye pato kubwa kwa kila nchi.
But also important legal instruments which did help Parliament to follow up on what is going on. One is the Land Act of 2005. The Land Act provides for a compulsory national land use master plan, which is now digitalized, and every single piece of land in that country, everybody knows. You can Google, you can go on Google, you can check, you know which land where and what it does. Whether it is for residential, it's for agriculture, it's a wetland, it's owned by government, or it is owned by individuals. It's already been done, and it is an act of Parliament right now. And nobody can move around and do anything without being noticed. That's two. And number three is the whole aspect of security of tenure and land registration. The entire small piece of that country, as small as it can be, is registered under a person. You know who owns what, where, and what this person is using it for, as I earlier said.
We're saying farmers' priorities are not always the basis for agricultural planning and budgeting. This has been noted and needs to change. That is particularly for national countries. Ministry of Agriculture budgets, policy statements, and all these budget framework papers should be able to reflect farmers' priorities, and that goes again to the budgeting processes, budgeting cycles, and how ideas that go into the budgets are sought from the grassroots. You have recommended that we need to draft inclusive national legislations, regulations, and standards, as well as policy frameworks within agriculture sector, land, water, environment, infrastructure, and energy. We need to have inclusive budgets and development plans. We need to push for public allocations to agriculture to reach the Malabo Declaration target of 10%. We must maintain it, but we need also focus on improving the quality of investments through addressing national priorities, closing leakages, wastages, and increasing absorption capacities, which are causing the sector allocations to not be effective. There is a need to focus on utilization efficiency and go beyond, and the allocations to go beyond just the 10%. We should allocate resources and seek a correlation between what we invest and the output. There should be a relationship between what you invest in the sector and the resultant growth. So the Maputo and the Malabo all say, if you invest 10%, you should target to achieve 6% annual growth. But is it happening? No. So if we are able to close leakages and increase absorption and budget to the actual priorities, then at least we can make a push towards achieving some of that.
What was important for us in this meeting, we've been working with ESAFF for a number of years now, and working with a number of other civil society organizations and farmers associations in the region. We've wanted to have that engagement, the involvement of smallholder farmers, of civil society in the policy making processes and the budgeting processes that our countries and the region do every single year, principally to ensure that the needs of these stakeholders were incorporated into the budgets and into the policies.
So that at the end of the day, we would want the issue about small-scale farmers, especially as regard to the KDP issue, that is the 10% Malabo Declaration that has been signed by our head of states. We would want to follow it up so that the many issues that affect small-scale farmers could be addressed.
This 10%, actually, it's at least 10% to be invested in the agriculture sector, and this you can put it in its right context. Why at least 10% in the agriculture sector? Actually, the wish could be more than 10%. Why? Agriculture sector employs more than 70-80% of our population. It means if you go back in our different countries, you will find that almost 80% of the population live in the agriculture sector or are employed in the agriculture sector.
To ensure that these processes happen and the budget includes the voices of smallholder farmers. And that for me was the most important thing, that we were able to meet with the Legislative Assembly as well as the parliamentarians for them to hear what the smallholder farmers have to say.
We have several of them. For example, the issue of mechanization that we are talking about, the issue of really removing away the small-scale farmers, changing their livelihood at least to upgrade to some commercial sort of farming. All these are issues that we feel the summit should be able to address for us, and we have already tabled it out, and I'm sure we are soon going to get results.
All these elements combined would push normally every leader to push for investing in the sector of agriculture. Because we think where you have this kind of population, investing there is investing for development. If you invest a lot in agriculture, you shift more people from poverty, and it is what we wish when you speak about development. So then the commitment of our leaders are right, and we should actually act to reach it.
What needs to happen is that all of those frameworks need to be harmonized and aligned to ensure that we are able to track the indicators that relate to poverty reduction, food security, and ensuring that there is a level of economic growth in the agriculture sector, and for those that are working in the agriculture sector, that is mostly the smallholder farmers.
Because they are the private sector number one in the countries. So let them also enjoy the freedom of selling whenever they want to sell, because they have produced and they have the right to access better markets.